If you're buying or refinancing at the time of your application, you'll have the option to lock your rate or to float. And many will ask, what should I do? A rate lock needs to cover your day of funding. And for a purchase, that's the day you settle. If you're refinancing a non-owner occupied property, that is the day you settle. If you're refinancing your primary residence, you have a 3-day right to cancel. It's your right to rescind. So the loan funds on the 4th day. Loans cannot fund on weekends or on holidays. Rate locks are typically 30 days. Most contracts, it seems, are written for 30 days or less. Refinances can typically wrap up within 30 days. If a longer lock-in period is required, they're available. They're in 15-day increments, 45 days, 60 days, and beyond. You can expect to see an increase in price for a longer lock-in period versus the 30-day price. Rate locks protect you against price increases should market conditions worsen. Market pricing comes out each day, typically between 10 and 11 a.m., Monday through Friday here on the East Coast. If it's a quiet day, we won't see any price changes. It's a volatile day, we could see several. So the pricing in the morning versus the evening could be very different. The pricing available on a Monday versus the following Friday could be significantly different. You could float the rate to see if pricing improves. And maybe it will. Market conditions could improve. Or you could take advantage of a shorter lock-in period. Once your loan's fully approved, appraisal, title is complete, everything is set to go with your file, you could take advantage of a 15-day lock. Loans typically have to be approved to be eligible for 15-day locks, but you can typically find a better price with a 15-day versus a 30-day lock. But if you are floating and conditions worsen, pricing increases, you're at the mercy of the markets. You could need thousands of dollars more for closing on your transaction. You may not have that money, or you may not want to spend that additional money. And to offset that price increase, the option could be to go with a higher interest rate, but maybe do not qualify at that higher rate. Or what about the additional interest you would spend over the term of the loan with a higher rate? So the best policy is to lock in at the time of your application, protect yourself against those price increases. Most lenders offer what's known as float down protection, meaning the rate lock can be renegotiated with the lock desk. For this to happen, most lenders require either a 1-point improvement in price or a 1/4 point improvement in rate to be eligible for float down. So lock in at the time of your application. Continue to monitor rates throughout your transaction, throughout the processing and underwriting of your transaction. And if you see rates improve prior to closing, inquire with your lender to see if you're eligible for float down. At some point, if you're not locked in, the rate will need to be locked because for the initial closing disclosure to be sent out, the rate needs to be locked. And the initial closing disclosure needs to be sent out to you, the borrower, at least 3 days ahead of settlement. If you're scheduled to close on a Friday, it needs to be out that preceding Tuesday. And for the rate to be locked, when it is locked, a revised loan estimate needs to be sent out, and that needs to be 1 day ahead of the closing disclosure. Just trying to give you an idea of the timeline lenders need to follow. If your rate is locked in at the time of application, pay close attention to your rate lock expiration date. You want to do your part as the borrower to avoid any delays. Turn in your documentation when requested. Provide any information the lender needs as promptly as possible. Rate lock extensions are available. However, a rate lock extension fee will be applied, and that will be based on the number of days the rate lock needs to be extended. If you have any questions about rate locks, float down, or rate lock extensions, just click on the link tree.